That would have sucked.
That's great. Okay, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast. Adam, who wrote the intro?
Who does number 2 work for? And
welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast number episode 173. I am your host, Peter Nikolaidis, and joining me as always is the guy who writes these show notes, Adam Bell.
It's been that way for like 100 episodes. I don't know.
I guess I don't look at that very much. I never caught that this is podcast number episode. Oh man. How you doing, Adam?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's Friday. Everything's good.
All right, all good. Yeah, it is Friday. And for a change, I am not doing a long run today.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I mix it up because it's going to be a little cooler tomorrow morning. So I decided to take 2 rest days in a row. And I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, last week on Friday, I did run. And I regretted it. It was insanely hot.
Mm-hmm.
I was targeting like almost 23 miles and I bailed about halfway at mile 12. And not because of a fall, but I was having some knee pain, which normally is manageable. And it was also just hot. And I think that the heat and the humidity just sapped my will to do it. And I called in the towel and I was frustrated. I drove home. And I told my running coach about it. And he informed me that even Delta Force had suspended some training operations due to the heat. And I was like, okay. If Delta can take a day off because of the heat, I guess I can too.
Yeah.
So that was good to know. I felt slightly better about that. And then the next morning, my running buddy Greg and I did do 10 miles to make up the difference. So at least I got my weekly total in, even if it wasn't one long run. So I felt a little bit better about that. But yeah.
What time do you run?
So during these extreme heat days, I've been trying to get out earlier, like out on the trail by 7 a.m. Especially for these long runs when I'm going to be running for like 4 or 5 hours. But normally, like, I would often be running after this podcast, but that was back when it was like, oh, it's just 12 miles today, I just need a couple hours for that. It's fine. So now I have to get a little more strategic around picking the days. And, one thing I have this argument inside is like, well, does it really matter? Because what happens if I show up on race day and it's 100 degrees? What am I going to do? The odds of that right now, global warming, yeah, it's happening, but I don't think we're going to get there by this September.
Yeah.
So I try to be a little more forgiving with my the challenges that I set for myself. So,
well, of course, I'm a morning person.
Yeah.
And
I noticed. I usually wake up and my Apple Watch tells me all the stuff that you've done, and I'm like, what the? I haven't had my first cup of coffee yet.
Yeah. Because if I were running, I would be at the trailhead. I mean, I would be taking my first steps at 5 a.m.
Oh God, you disgust me.
That would be my goal, so that by the time 7 comes around, I'll have 2 hours of running by then.
Yeah,
and
sure. Who wouldn't?
Before the heat ever steps in.
So there have been times when I have woken up and been like, well, I can't sleep, having just wake up early enough, or I go to bed early. The problem is normally with my sleep cycle, if I go to bed early, I tend to wake up around 2 a.m. And stay awake for about an hour or two. And 2 a.m. is, I don't know that that's the optimal time to get out of bed and go for a run.
It's a little early.
Yeah. 4:30, right? If you're Jocko Willink or Dwayne Johnson, sure, right?
See, I
like it though. I have woken up, early at like 5 or so, and I'm like, well, I'm wide awake. I may as well just go now. So I do like it when that happens, but I don't like having to plan my day around that. So.
Well, and I don't get up like, oh, I just woke up, it's time to go. No, my alarm wakes me up, but because I go to exhaustion. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
my MO. I don't go to sleep. I
Mhm.
pass out.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't sit there, things going through my head. I close my eyes and I'm gone. And I do that. I run like that intentionally so
Mhm.
that I will sleep hard.
Yep.
I just, if I go to bed early, it's because I'm exhausted.
And I'm trying to get better about that. I slept a little bit better last night. I had a kind of a late night. I was out until almost midnight, had a date. It was kind of fun, went well.
Yeah.
And I came home, of course, then I had like, hey, date energy. So now I'm not sleepy, so I don't want to sleep. I'm like, damn it. But yeah, I do find like if I, and I try not to do this as much anymore, but if I work a lot into the evening, then, that'll knock me right out. Fortunately, I haven't been having to do that as
Yeah, that's
much.
nice.
So yeah, even with my new gigs that I'm doing with the, work starting to pile up, I'm able to generally keep it during, daylight hours. That said, there's a claim, to an argument to be made for using the daylight hours for fun things like running, and using nighttime for work, if that's what, so anything like that.
Hmm.
um so yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. I am concerned what I'll do when I get old, like when I retire and don't have to like do a vocation during the day. Will I be able to sleep?
You'll have to find some other occupation.
Yeah. Like running a lavender farm, which is more physical.
Yeah, that's going to keep you, that'll help your circadian rhythm, I believe that
Yeah.
will. Yeah. So yeah, well, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, so what else has been going on? You mentioned, so as we know, you're a CrossFitter.
Hmm.
You've been part of that cult for a while now,
Yeah.
and as you observed, I have inadvertently dipped a toe into CrossFit. Now, with very few exceptions, you and I have been putting in a minimum of 100 push-ups per day. Whether
For
it's part of a routine. It's
the
been, I
two,
think, what's it,
is
3
it
years?
2 years?
2 years. It
2 years.
was, it
Yeah.
started during the pandemic, because I
Hmm.
remember I remember the gal I was seeing then I met during COVID. So it had to be, 2020.
Hmm.
And so we started, I think it was around July. So it's been, yeah, about 2 years. So we've been
Hmm.
doing it. And, I've missed a day. I would make it up the next day. Right.
Yeah, I've missed days too,
Yep.
but pretty consistent.
But there was a long stretch when I was doing 200 a day. So on average, I have easily averaged 100 push-ups per day. Right.
Hmm.
So that's cool. And then so at the studio, the yoga studio where I teach, they just get like a complimentary subscription to Men's Health magazine. We have, so they'll put out like on the shelf, there's like, yoga journal, yoga magazine, yoga this, yoga that, and in the trash there's the copy of Men's Health. And as the token male instructor, I feel like it's perfectly fine for me to take that, so I take it home. Chris Pratt was on the cover of this month's issue,
Hmm.
and I looked through it, and they talked about the workout routine that he used to get in Navy SEAL shape
Hmm.
for the TV series that you and I
Hmm.
both watched and enjoyed on Amazon recently, called The
Hmm.
Terminal List. And I think we can put that down as a recommendation, because we both enjoyed that show. And
Hmm.
Chris Pratt, he's someone who can definitely alter his appearance and, his physical, but not telling you like, he's not like a shape changer, but
Yeah.
like, maybe not as extreme as, say, like Russell Crowe, because like Russell Crowe, if you look at him in Master and Commander versus Gladiator, that looks like two different people, and if you see him
Hmm.
today, I'm like, dude, Russ, what happened? Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, the workout routine that Chris Pratt claims he follows is essentially the Murph CrossFit workout.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with a 1 mile run, 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats,
Mm-hmm.
and then another 1 mile run.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, well, I've been doing 100 push-ups, so let me do that. And they give you like different breakups how you can do that. So I would do, say, 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, and 15 squats. And doing a set of 10 push-ups right now feels like a day off, like, and especially after pull-ups, it's like it primes the push-up muscles. So they're even easier for me somehow. I'm not sure how that works. But I don't have a pull-up bar. So what I did is I looked online how to, like, modify how to make your own. And one option I took is I have 2 high like bar stools with backs on them. And so you set them up towards, like, I set them up towards the top of my yoga mat, and I take one of my old, they say you can use a broomstick. I happen to have a Joe staff, a short staff from my Aikido training days. And I just
There you
sit
go.
that on the chairs and just do my, modified pull-ups that way. And it seems to work. I mean, I'm probably doing what, like 80% of the work, because my feet are still touching on the ground, but most
Mm-hmm.
of my body weight is concentrated in the upper body. So, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, not running for the first time in a few days, pretty much for the first time since I started this workout routine, if I recall correctly. Maybe I started it when it was super hot. Today, I was able to do pretty much 10 pull-ups at a time, as opposed to just 5 where I'd been stopping. But I do notice, like, I'm getting right around the point of failure on that 9th one. The 9th and 10th one are hard. But I guess that's good, right? Because you want to push yourself right to failure, and that's when you're supposedly doing the work to build up the muscle. So yeah, so I took a dip in the CrossFit world over there, and so far it's all right. It's all right. It's pretty fundamental. So I'm only doing 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 150 squats so far. So we shall see.
Well, I mean, we do Murph in Memorial Day. That's when we do it. And then a lot of people wear a vest. So they do wear the 20-pound vest while they do it. And I've never worn the vest while doing it, because it's hard enough all by itself.
Okay, good. I don't feel quite, but just as with Delta Force taking a day off during the heat, I feel a little better about myself. I thought you were going to be like super shaming me right now.
No. And I usually partition it. So I usually do, depending on how I'm feeling, I either do 5 rounds or I do 4 rounds. So I'll run the mile, then split it up into 5 or 4, then run the mile. And my goal is to get that under 60 minutes. And this, I think I did it this year, 53 minutes, I think was what I did it, which was a plus that was pretty good for me.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that when I do the sets with like 20 push-ups as opposed to 10, it goes a little more quickly than when I break them up. I guess they're, the pause, just the transition in between each exercise is enough to chew up, a notable time, like, 10, 15 seconds per set. So, I've noticed that. So you may have seen, because as far as I know, you still have an Apple Watch. You may have noticed a workout completed, and that was the first 3 rounds. I still have 1 round to go to hit my 100 push-ups for today. So
all right,
but I'm enjoying it. I like it. I've been wanting to do pull-ups for the longest time, but I just don't have a door frame that I was willing to sacrifice for a pull-up bar. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. And I found this guy on YouTube who's like, here are 5 alternatives. And I was looking at it, I was like, that one fits perfectly. And I even, can do it like while I'm watching a movie or something, because I set it up right, in front of the TV, and then I'm doing my push-ups and keeping the good form, keeping my, eyes up while I'm watching something like The Orville.
The Orville.
So have you...
Before we jump to that real quick.
Before we jump, we will put a pin in that one.
Put a pin in that one. So one thing that we do in the pull-ups, it's always overhand, It's
Okay.
it's never underhand.
Okay. I've been doing
Unless
underhand.
yeah,
Uh-oh.
unless it's a specific workout for underhand, but Murph is overhand, and it's a butterfly pull up. Now butterfly, you'll have to look it up on YouTube.
Okay.
It's not so strict pull up is hang from a bar, pull yourself up,
Right.
up, down.
Yep.
And there's no kip in that. And when I
Okay.
say a kip, where you're kind of moving your body to help
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So a butterfly pull up is actually with a kip. So your arms end up kind of doing this. Your
Got it.
body is doing an in and out. So
Got it.
it's not like, in gym class, down, up, down, up. So
Okay.
the butterfly makes it go a lot faster.
I was going to say that's cheating, isn't it?
Well,
It's
it would be cheating if that weren't the prescribed.
the exercise, right?
Yeah, if that weren't the
Okay.
exercise. If you were supposed to be doing strict and you were doing butterfly, that would be
Interesting.
cheating. So, but for
Okay.
Murph, you can do butterfly. And you have to look that up. And it's a much more efficient. And I mean, you'll go through 20 of those
Yeah.
in 20 seconds.
More efficient in terms of moving the body, but maybe not as efficient in developing muscle mass because you're using your core to move yourself around rather than just the biceps, triceps kind of stuff.
Yeah, but it's whatever the point of the exercise is. If
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
So if you're trying to get a whole body exercise in there, the butterfly encompasses, like you mentioned, core, shoulders, and it doesn't tear up your shoulder because you're focused only on those muscles. So you're hitting the shoulders.
Okay. So I have been doing underhand for starters. But I did just experiment. Like I noticed, like, I couldn't tell, like, I think I'm cheating here. Like my knees are bending and, sometimes, and I was trying to keep like a plank. But what I did notice today was almost like I'm bridging up. If I like thrust the hips and chest forward, that seems to make it even easier also. So I'm sort of compensating in a similar manner to that butterfly pull-up. So it's interesting. I'm sort of falling into the same thing by accident. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's all about the focus of your exercise.
Yeah. Well, I definitely noticed, like, even just after a couple of days, I could tell when I finished that exercise, like my muscles are definitely more jacked. And like I messaged you this morning, even if I do those sets of 10 pull-ups versus 5, at the end, I can feel and see the difference. It's like and 5 was not easy for me. But now 10 has gotten easier, and the aesthetics are visible. So I was like, oh yeah, cool.
It's definitely going to hit the bicep in a way that it wouldn't do it with the overhead or the overhand.
Yep. Yeah, I'll have to think about that. I'll have to see what I'm doing there, how to modify that. So anyway, cool. All right, what else?
All right, so you mentioned the Orville.
I did mention the Orville. So apparently season 3 has dropped, and I don't even know if it's an entire season a la Netflix style or if it's episodic, one at a time. It is on Hulu. And I had heard of the Orville years ago when it first came out, and I looked at it and I was like, that's a blatant ripoff of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't want to watch that. What the? Why would anyone? Oh, and it's a comedy? No, I don't want to watch that. No, not going to do it. And I resisted. I saw like, okay, it's a couple seasons in. Okay, fine, whatever. And then I heard a review of it, and I had heard some people say like it's better than Star Trek, and I was like, blasphemy. No, I'm not going to watch
making fun of Star Trek. How can it be better?
Exactly. And so I heard a review on a podcast, and there were a couple of folks that were talking, and one guy compared it, again to Star Trek, and they were talking about Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, and like all things that I want to watch, but I'm just hearing such bad things about them. And I've seen like the first season of Picard was like, it was just okay. And the second season is apparently way worse. And I watched 2 or 3 seasons of Discovery, and I never really liked any of it. And supposedly Strange New Worlds is better, but I'm like, eh. And then I heard once again someone said that the Orville is a better Star Trek than Star Trek. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot, because there it is. It's on Hulu. I have Disney Plus through my Verizon, wireless plan. Fine, I'll watch it. And like right off the bat, the humor is, they're more human, right? They're more realistic. Star Trek is always very cookie cutter, very very formal and very serious. The people on the Orville interact more like people do. Right. And so they have real conversations, and like some guys are wise asses, and it's hilarious, but they stick to all the Star Trek tropes. You can see like, okay, this is the Data character, this is the Worf character, and it's good. The dialogue is good. The special effects are just as good as any Star Trek. The plots are all, if you know Star Trek, if you really know it, you can see where, like, oh, this is the episode where they go down to a planet that evolved just like Earth did, only with minor differences. And like, oh, this is the one where the holodeck malfunctions, like all the classic tropes.
This is where Ensign Ricky dies.
Yeah, well, but it's good. So, and what I did not know, and I couldn't even put a face to it. But Seth MacFarlane is the creator and the executive producer. He stars as the main character, as Captain Mercer. And it's just like every episode, there has not been a single bad episode, and I am almost done with season 2.
Nice.
And I just like, the cameo, celebrity cameos, just like in like the old, the original series, where they would have like, famous people do a guest shot, even if it's just for a little blip or for the entire episode. And like, I just can't wait to watch another episode. It's so much fun. So high praise for the Orville. I've been telling all my friends, anyone, it's like, if you like Star Trek, you've got to see the Orville. It's so good. It's really is. It's like, it's Star Trek done right.
I was watching the trailer right before you joined the meeting, and he's giving a speech, and he says, "And may the force be with you." So
nice. Yep. Yeah. And that's, it's funny, is like they've changed minor little things. Like, again, if you didn't know better, if you were like new to Star Trek and you started watching it, you would think you're watching Star Trek, right? if you know enough about Star Trek to distinguish Star Trek from Star Wars, and that's about all you know, and you start watching the Orville, you will think you are watching Star Trek. Right. And then you're like, wait, what's the Union? Oh, that's the Federation. Oh, okay. They don't have warp drive, they have quantum drive. One thing that I think is interesting that's different is the Union does not have transporters, but they do have cloaking devices.
So they swapped it.
Slight difference, right? So they have a cloak. The big bad, the Klingons are known as the Krill, and they're a warlike race. There's an android on the ship, except he's a member of an alien race as opposed to a human constructed thing. But yeah, they do a lot of things. They also dive like where Star Trek would sort of go and like make metaphors for some social issues. Like in the old series, they would talk, like they would dive right in. Like I forget the name of the episode, but there was one where Frank Gershon guest starred. He used to play the Riddler on the Adam West TV show, Batman, where he played two parts on a warring planet, or two planets that were at war. One, the population, all of their faces, their whole bodies were bisected in color. One of them was half black and half white. The other race was half white and half black. So therefore, they must kill each other. Right. And of course, Shatner finally, gets the two Frank Gershons to sit down with each other. And so spoiler alert for a 55-year-old TV show. But gets them to talk it out, and of course, kumbaya or whatever. So but they they skirt a little closer to the edge, you know, on some issues. Like the Next Generation sort of was like a little bit more abstracted in their metaphors, and the Orville dives in a little closer.
Okay.
So but yeah, obviously high praise. You know, I'm like 5 stars every episode. Like, this is great, this is great, this is great. So
Nice.
definitely recommend it. And it's on Hulu.
Yep. So I've added it to my list.
Yep.
I
The
think
only
it'll-
thing I don't like about it is I don't pay for Hulu Plus, right? I have just plain old, Hulu.
Hulu.
Hulu. So I have to watch ads, which is an experience I have not had to endure for many years. So generally when an ad comes on, I just mute it and get up and make a cup of coffee or something, and then come back 2 minutes later. So yeah.
There you go.
Cool. All right. Enough about television, unless you want to talk about something else on TV. Enough about the Orville.
Yeah, enough about the Orville. Let's see. So we had some A-word fails this week.
We did. Yeah. So mine is not as one thing I've noticed is that my different Echo hardware devices are capable of processing different commands, and some of them don't know what some commands are. Now, I don't remember what it was, but when I had a little Fire tablet, little Kindle Fire tablet, I would tell it to do some things, and it was like, sorry, I can't do that right now, or I don't understand. And I figured like, okay, this thing's ancient, it's garbage. But I've noticed that there are commands that I can give to my Echo Show that my 3rd generation Echo Dots do not understand. But my 4th generation one does, and my Fire TV Cube does.
Yeah.
But one example I tried to show you right as we were getting started is like a couple days ago, I told, hey, A-word, play It's Hot by James. And so the song's name is It's Hot. The band's name is James. It's in my Apple Music, which is my default music source. And it says, playing 115 by Treyarch Sound, Brian Toohey, and James so-and-so from the Call of Duty soundtrack. I was like, A-word, stop. A-word, what did you just hear? I heard play It's Hot by James.
Oh, so you can ask, what did she hear?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And you can also go in the app and see what it did too. You have to do it immediately because it only tells you the last thing it heard.
Okay.
But I did that. I'm like, so I say it again, playing 115 by Treyarch Sound, Brian Toohey, and I'm like, A-word, stop. I open up the thing. Sure enough, there is the song that I want to play. I tell it to play, and boom, I play it and I hear my music. Today, I come up to my 4th gen Echo Dot, which is up here in my studio, and I tell it, like, listen to this, play It's Hot by James. Playing It's Hot by James. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Come on.
Somebody's messing with you.
Someone is messing. A-word is messing with me. So that was my fail. How about you?
So mine, what you had sent me a message, and it looked like it got stuck in the ether because it was like from the 17th, and then I got it this week. You were like, hey, let me know if you received this. And I didn't ignore it. It just didn't show up until this week.
Better late than never, I guess.
Yeah. I said, play message. And then I replied, A-word, send message to Peter Nikolaidis. Do you want to message Peter? I've got 3 Peters in my Peter so-and-so, Peter so-and-so. I said, no. Well, I said, Peter. And I was like, okay, let me imitate the way that she sang it.
Yep.
Nikolaidis. So I said, no, send it to Peter Nikolaidis. And who? Unknown person. Do you want to send it to Peter so-and-so, Peter so-and-so, or Peter Peter Nikolaidis? I'm trying to say A-I-I-tis, some way a robot might say it wrong. And she wouldn't take it any way I would send us. Fine, I'm changing Peter's name. He is now Peter the Greek. Or if you feel like a warrior clan, I'll call you Peter the Great.
Well, that was the Russians. Peter the Greek is better as far as I'm concerned.
But I thought, it's like, well, he might want to be the German. I mean, he could be either one.
Depends on the day. I have reestablished my German nationality. I have not successfully reestablished my Greek nationality. So on paper,
Okay. On paper.
I am not Greek. So,
Oh, okay.
but that's funny for you. My A word has multiple contacts, and I cannot for the life of me get rid of the one with your work phone number.
Yeah.
And so it always asks me, which Adam Bell, the one with phone number ending blah, 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 or blah, 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 blah. And I can never remember which it is, it's like, and I don't want to pull out my phone to look at your address card to see which one is the right one. So I'm just like, this one. And I was like, sorry, can't use that one. I'm like, why did you ask me?
Yeah, you're gonna have to pick another name for one of those contacts for me.
Yeah. So how can I so I can use the A word app to rename somebody?
No. I had to go into my contacts. If I send you an email, it's going to go to Peter the Greek.
Okay, but so that's your contacts on your phone that's syncing in, or which contacts?
Yeah, my contacts in my phone syncing in.
Got it. Okay. Well, I'm just going to take another look because I have an Adam Bell. Now, here's the thing. In my contacts, I have a phone for you and a mobile number for you, and they are the same.
Nah.
But A word still has your office phone number.
Okay.
And refuses to change that. And I think this is one of those things that Amazon does not actually have a facility for changing, along with the stocks that are on your watch list. You can add stocks to your watch list. You cannot remove them. So I'm no longer interested in watching Tesla stock.
Yeah.
But I do.
You have to.
I'm like, if I want to find out anything about any stocks, Tesla's going to be on there. I'm like, why? Don't understand. So yeah, those are my A word fails there.
Yeah, big first world problems. I know.
Whips, man, we've got whips.
Well,
there is a manage contacts. I could block contacts. I wonder if of course, if I block you, it's gonna like, oh wow, I blocked an ex-girlfriend from some time ago. I guess I didn't want to see her, take the chance that I would accidentally call her. Oh man. So I'm looking here, I'm scrolling down for Adam Bell, and of course there are four. I have 4 Adam Bells as far as A word is concerned.
Ironically, I have 4 of myself in my own contact list.
Now, here's the
thing.
I
have 5. No, 4. Just 4.
I could block any one of you, but I don't know which one I'd be blocking because it doesn't show me any information about you other than your name. So how am I supposed to know? I know I could go through a process to troubleshoot this, but I shouldn't have to. I really shouldn't. Oh, brother. All right, first world problems. What else we got?
Okay, back to the show notes here. So I have some questions for the security man. You're a professional security man.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right.
Interesting.
Let's pretend I was a client, and now we'll just pretend like we're 2 IT guys talking.
Okay.
We'll pretend that.
Okay, so I don't have to mansplain to you?
You don't have to mansplain to me.
Got it.
Okay. So one thing that I have shied away from, and because I haven't talked to somebody that I could really pick their brain on, is virtual firewalls.
Okay.
As well as you worked at Mindcast. You guys did virtual filtering for your, for clients. I mean, for email. I can wrap my head around that because we create an MX record and it forces the email, any email to that domain is going to go where we say the MX record is.
Yes.
So to me, that makes sense because the traffic's there. So a virtual firewall, I have a hard time wrapping my head around because I've got a router on the edge
Yep.
with a public IP.
Yep.
Now I create a rule to route all traffic to this IP that is my virtual firewall.
Yep.
And I say, don't do anything with your traffic except send it to that virtual firewall.
Yep.
Don't receive any traffic except from that virtual firewall.
Yep. Drop or reject everything else. Yep.
Drop or reject everything else. The thing that I don't understand is we don't set up in firewalls, we don't set up access lists by IPs because IPs can be spoofed. And what I mean by that is I say, from a security standpoint, I don't allow RDP from your public IP address to my RDP server because I've been told by security guys, well, that IP could be spoofed.
Yes, but.
Yes, but. Okay, let's hear about this.
Okay, so for certain types of traffic, yes, you can spoof your IP address, but the trouble happens in most of the internet communications happen over a protocol in one way or another known as TCP. And that is a connection-based protocol. So it is going to have what's called, all TCP packets have what's called a three-way handshake. And it starts off with one called SYN, and that's a synchronized packet. So if we were starting a handshake, I would send you a SYN, right?
SYN.
SYN. Yes, I'm going to be sinning with you. So I'll send you some beers, some cigarettes, maybe some women.
Fantastic.
Yes. So I send you a SYN. You send me back to the same address that I sent it from, a SYN-ACK. So you acknowledge my synchronization, right? I then send you back an ACK, an acknowledgement. Well, since RDP goes over TCP, right? So RDP is up here on the stack, TCP is lower, riding on top. RDP is riding on TCP. That three-way handshake is pretty difficult to spoof because I am sending that back to the IP address that it purported to come from. So if an attacker says, I'm Adam Bell and I'm over here at Adam Bell's phone number, give me a call back, and I call back Adam Bell's phone number, your phone is going to ring, not the attackers. Right. Now, this is different from like scammers who say, call me back. I am Bank of America and I am at 877evilbadguy.com. That's not the same, right? So if you're trying to actually spoof that, it's pretty hard to do that unless you've like taken over their routing tables or something, right? So that's one reason that's not as much of a concern. The other thing, what I would do is if I was using a virtual firewall like that, I would not just direct your router to send all traffic to and from it. I would establish a VPN connection to that virtual firewall and then just tell it drop everything else that comes its way. Yeah. And see, I think that because I sent you as a setup guide for Cisco Meraki. And when they're talking about that virtual machine, they're talking about the VPN throughput, which I believe is exactly what you just said, is they want you to establish a VPN connection to that virtual machine. So there is no opportunity for spoofing. Right. So and that's the best practice for sure. So how do you spoof? You described how difficult it would be to spoof it. So is it possible? You can spoof connectionless protocols. So you can, so for example, DNS lookups are normally done by UDP, which is a stateless connectionless protocol. And there is no handshake. ICMP is similar, right? So I could say, for example, and this is like how you see certain amplification attacks where you will send an attack out to say 100 different addresses and claim, like I am this jerk over here whom I hate. I am his IP address. Right. So let's pretend, and don't try this at home, but I'm going to, like he's over at 1.1.1.1. That's actually Cloudflare's DNS resolvers. Right. So if you can take down to Cloudflare with this example, more power to you. So I'll use them as an example since they are in the business of mitigating attacks like this.
Mm-hmm.
So I send you a packet and I say, hey, Adam, how's it going? I'm at 1.1.1.1.
Mm-hmm.
1.1.1.1. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And you say, hey, 1.1.1.1, I'm fine. Right now, out of the blue, 1.1.1.1 gets a message from you saying, hey, I'm fine. It's like, who the heck are you? Go away.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you, right? Because you're sending a SYN ACK,
Mm-hmm.
but they never sent you a SYN,
Uh-huh.
right? I send you a SYN purporting to be from them. You send the SYN ACK back to them, and they're like, no, go away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where this can be weaponized is I send 100 million of these to different IPs all over the internet. And now suddenly 100 million people are saying, hello, 1.1.1.1, how are you? And 1.1.1 is just like, trash.
Okay.
Right. So that's a kind of an amplification attack that can be spoofed, but you're not spoofing it to get access. You're spoofing it with the intention of, causing mayhem on the other end.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It still seems like, I mean, I don't do it because it's one of those things. There's lots of things I do in life that I follow the rules, whether I completely understand them or not. Best practice. You shouldn't jump out of a car at 70 miles an hour. You shouldn't.
I was gonna say stopping at stop signs, even if there's no other cars coming.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have to be proven wrong to follow a rule, because I don't allow any open ports even by IP anymore. Now, honestly, I did before I was told, hey, don't do that anymore.
Yep. And that's something that bothers me, that by default the Amazon AWS security rules are all IP address based. And you can't just shove host names in there, as far as I know, without third-party products. And I'm like, why can't I give them my home DNS name? My dynamic, because I have a dynamic DNS name tied to my router. It moves around when my IP address changes. Why can't I tell Amazon, let traffic in, let HTTPS traffic in from this host name? Nope, I got to do it with the IP address. And once that IP address changes, I'm locked out. And it's like,
gotta change the rule again.
Gotta change the rule again. Boy, that's efficient. So, I'm like, I'm really legitimately surprised that they don't have, name lookups as part of their, that layer. But I guess they probably, have other workarounds to support. Oh, if you want that functionality, use this service.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, it's still, I mean, would you feel comfortable doing a virtual firewall?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would be as comfortable as I would with a VPN, for something like that. The only hesitation and the only reason that I didn't do that with a number of my clients back in the day was I just did not know how to predict the bandwidth charges that we would rack up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And I know that's a silly reason. And I know there would be a way around this to determine it and stuff. I just never did it. So, that would be my only concern. And it's easily addressable if you take the time to look into it. I just never did. But I would absolutely route everything. It's no different than like when I want a VPN, because VPN service providers are notoriously unreliable. I spin up my own box in AWS and I establish a VPN connection to that, and I route all my traffic out through that box. It's really no different.
Yeah. Yeah. Because right now, I mean, I use Cisco Meraki. I know you use Sophos. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I prefer the old school Sophos UTM. Designed and made in Germany and rock solid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, can't get those anymore.
You still can. Okay. They haven't end of life them yet.
Yeah. Good. You got a truckload of them. I keep buying them on eBay.
Yeah, no, they're still selling them. They're still selling the SG line. Thank God.
Yeah. So I like Cisco Meraki from it. It checks a lot of boxes for me as an MSP. I have one pane of glass that I can see all my clients, and then I can add my team, my technology team, support staff to it. They now have access to all the firewalls of our clients, and it's the same for all of our clients. Now, you could do the same thing with Sophos. I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with Sophos. It's just
Yep.
not my, it's a vanilla versus chocolate kind of thing. This is the one that I like best, and
Yep.
it checks all my boxes. But getting a Meraki appliance right now is very difficult.
Cisco is really hurting from supply chain issues.
Yeah, yeah. They've been, and I've got a Cisco, I mean, I'm a Cisco reseller.
Yeah.
And I've got my Cisco rep that's like, well, what can we do for you? I'm like, you can get me product.
No, I can't.
No, I can't. I'm like, then you can't do anything for me. What are you getting paid to do right now? I mean,
Nothing.
why do you exist? Because you're not bringing in, you can't provide me value if you can't provide me a product. Now, that's why I ended up, this is why I'm entertaining virtual, because I could spin up a Azure instance and put the license on it, and I've got a virtual firewall right now. I also was considering doing a virtual machine of my own on site with like a NUC, but that just won't work. If the power goes out long enough for the UPS to go off,
Yep.
and my power goes off, the firewall will not come back.
Yep. Yeah. And while it's down, you're down. So
yeah, my client's down. So at least this way, with a virtual, now I may have to reboot the virtual machine virtual machines do lock up, and I may have to recycle it, but I could do that from remote.
Yep.
I can't do that from remote at a client's office if the virtual machine is inaccessible to me.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And, normally I would say, well, that's why you go to the cloud. But you may have heard that over the last couple of days, Amazon AWS had record outages. And they were sort of like rolling through multiple data centers and stuff. It was pretty interesting. But like Slack was affected, Zoom was affected, WebEx was affected, core EC2 services for some of my clients were affected, and it was interesting to say the least. And this is why there are a number of bigger firms that are their DR and their business continuity plan calls for them to have multiple cloud tenants, so that their stuff is not just in AWS, but it's in AWS and Azure.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not just moving your AWS to like the East region and the Central region and the West Coast region. You're going to completely different providers and stuff too. So,
and that would be an interesting project.
That's extreme.
All right. And then one other tech thing. This is a tech tip thing that you may or may not have known. I did not know this. So if you are an Office 365 super admin and you install Microsoft Office 365, if you have a license, so if you have a license for Office and you're the super admin,
yep,
and then you go onto a computer, install Microsoft Office, you have now generated a persistent cookie that will never be deleted with your session information as the super admin. Uh-oh, Peter ran away. I don't know what he's doing right now, if he's maybe uninstalling Office or if he's changing his password or
No, I was closing the door because the groundskeepers just arrived and fired up all of their. I didn't think that the noise suppression system was going to be up for that.
It was funny though. I tell you a security tip and you run away.
Run away.
Oh crap! But I did not know this until I was going through a security audit, and they found the cookie on one of my computers, and my account, which I don't even log in as that account, but my account has an Office license associated it's the global admin. I installed it on my computer, and didn't do anything with it. There's no email or anything. I don't do email through Office 365, but that persistent cookie was there so that it could be exploited with my information.
Interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. So the fix on that is to never have a license associated with your global admin account.
Right.
So
Yep.
if you're going to do an installer, because I did, the reason I did that is I wanted to be able to install Office on my tech computers without having to log in as the users, because I didn't want to set up their MFA. I've got my
Yep.
own MFA.
Right.
And
Yep.
that's why I was doing that.
Yep. I can see why you would want to do that. So,
Mhm.
okay, interesting. Good to know. Yeah. So
Mhm.
essentially, as with most things, don't actually use your admin account for anything. You know?
Yeah. 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 Because it would have been fine if I had a global admin account that had no license, and I logged in with my Atom account, which was not a global admin. I could have installed the password. I just was combining it all in one because
Yep.
I don't stay logged in as that user account. So I felt like the risk was nothing because I don't use that account.
Yep. Yep.
Wrong.
But you do.
Uh-huh.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Yeah, I pretty much the only thing I ever use the global admin account for is assigning licenses and making new users. So,
Yeah.
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 All right.
So,
Cool. What else we got?
all right. We have your code there. We've got it may be nifty. I mean,
I don't know. It may be nifty and it may be scary as blank. But Amazon Astro, the household robot for home monitoring with a word, includes a 6-month free trial of the Ring Protect Pro. Yeah, Bezos and company have a little mobile robot named Astro that can run around your house and surveil everything. Huh.
so generate a 3D map for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm actually kind of intrigued with it. Unlock more peace of mind with the Ring Protect Pro, because I've got Google Fiber now, or not Google Fiber. I've got
Go
1
fly.
gig gigabit fiber at the farm now. I could have this little robot roaming around my farmhouse.
Is it, well, yeah, indoors anyway, right? Yeah.
Indoors.
Yeah. I mean, like I look at it and like, yeah, it looks kind of cool, but a camera and a microphone running around from Amazon. Well,
It says keep home closer.
yeah. I mean, okay. If I was doing the thing where I split my time back and forth between, different like different states again, I could see, like wanting to keep an eye on the house. I guess that is kind of cool.
Oh, it has a Furbo dog camera that tosses treats to your pet. Adapter required.
Perfect. Perfect. And apparently they're not the only ones. There are, if you scroll down to customers who viewed this, also viewed, there are a number of other home robot scout devices that are very similar. One of them, which looks like a bulldozer.
You know what I'd like is I'd like a Roomba that did that. I want you to vacuum my floor and be a surveillance.
So I believe they have that. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they do have that. And I don't know, like I had been thinking about getting a Roomba again. I had one of the first and the second generation ones, and they were just useless. Supposedly they're smarter now, and they can do all kinds of things that they couldn't do back in the day. But that's one of the other things that I'm considering doing in the near future is I have a contractor coming over in about an hour after this call, and he's going to start working up a quote to remodeling my kitchen. So I got the price quote yesterday just for the materials and the cabinets.
Yeah.
And that alone was about what a contractor friend of mine told me the whole project might cost.
Yeah. 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 He was also recommending you be the project
Be the
manager of
GC.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's wrong, but I would rather have some other GC doing it because it sucks.
Some other throat to choke.
Yeah, because I mean, I've got good employees.
Yep.
I've got good team members.
Yep.
And I don't really consider I don't like the term employee. You work for me. No, we work together. But I've got a good team.
Yep.
But it's frustrating as heck just managing a good team. Yeah. Just find somebody who sucks. And it really
That's like being a landlord. You know,
Yeah.
it's frustrating owning property when you have good tenants, but when you have pain in the ass tenants, ooh, doggy. Boy, yeah. So come to work for me. I will send you another link to add to the show notes. Just a moment. We will add in. So my favorite, there are very few. I subscribe now to maybe a dozen channels on YouTube. And but there are very few that I support other than, you know, that they get paid for, you know, me just watching, you know, their stuff, right, through ads and stuff. So one exception to that though is Ryan George, and he's the guy who does the pitch meeting series, which I am a huge fan of. And I watched some of his other stuff after I found pitch meeting, and I was like, it's not as good. I've been watching it again since, and it's gotten, either it's just growing on me or he's getting better. But today I just, you know, watched one came out this week, the first guy to ever work in an office. And it's, you know, it's a little bit of social commentary on what it's like working in, you know, office culture and working for a corporation. But it goes along with what you were just talking about, you know, working for me. So it's worth a watch. It's only a few minutes long. So.
I work with you.
Yeah. No, you work for me. Yeah. All right. On that note, should we take us out?
Yes. Let's
we're good.
take us out. Yeah, we've had a good day here. If you have any feedback, we get lots of spam feedback. I cleared all those as spam, but we don't want your spam feedback. We want your good feedback, and good feedback is telling us if you'd like to discuss a particular topic, if you'd like us to discuss a little bit further into this topic or that topic that we've already talked about. Peter and I are also flirting with maybe doing a security webinar, and we would need hundreds of users to do that webinar. So you can drop us a line at www.blurringthelinespodcast.com. You can find out more about Peter and me you can find Peter at paradigmcc.com, yogawithpeter.com, friendswithbeer.com, and at Nikolaidis on Twitter. And you can find me at sublimecomp.com, rrlavenderfarm.com, which there's no contact, but you can.
There's a truck.
There's a truck. And you can find me at Twitter at sublimecomp.com. And with that,
on that note, we should push the big red button.
Big red button, wherever it is.
Leave.
Stop.